Welcome to Examining Tax Policy with the Washington Examiner. I'm Tiana Lodesher, the Washington Examiner's economics columnist, and I'm here today with Kevin Brady, formerly the representative from Texas's 8th District, but more crucially for our purposes today, the former chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee when the original 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed. Chairman Brady, I'm excited to have you here with us today. Obviously, there are individual extensions of the TCJA that must be renewed before the end of the year to prevent that 22% average tax hike on Americans. But when you and Speaker Ryan originally set out to pass TCJA, you said you wanted to simplify it so 9 out of 10 Americans could file their taxes on the size of a postcard. I don't know if you succeeded specifically at that, but 9 out of 10 Americans now do take the standard deduction. What can you say about where House Republicans under the first Trump administration succeeded in not just the tax cuts, but the simplification of the tax code?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. And so we had, as you know, we set out to create a tax code built for growth of jobs, paychecks in the U.S. economy. We wanted to redesign our tax system so our U.S. companies could compete and win anywhere in the world, including here at home. And when they did succeed, to bring those profits back to be invested in new jobs, new manufacturing, new research and development, new innovation here in America. And we wanted America to be the premier destination for new investments from around the world. And we succeeded in all of those. And there's so much good to talk about, including just record paycheck growth for average Americans. So simplification, I think we did a good job. We didn't hit our goal, which was we really did believe that we could get, 95% of Americans filing on a simple postcard, just 13 lines in your final amount, which we thought would not only simplify, make it easier to file, but create confidence in Americans that not only do they understand how they are taxed, but they understand how all their neighbors are taxed as well. The House version did accomplish that. In the end of the day, we didn't quite hit that mark. But nonetheless, to your point, over 9 out of 10 Americans don't have to itemize to get their full tax return, full tax benefits. And from that standpoint, along with simplifications in the small business area, I think we did a good job in that regard.
Do you have confidence that the One Big Beautiful Bill from current House Republicans will continue that legacy of simplification, or will it improve upon it? Or because I've heard some critics wonder whether or not this bill will complexify that tax code.
Well, it's a little bit of both. I think the House Ways and Means Committee is off to an excellent start. This is a pro-growth provisions. It preserves TCJA and President Trump's original tax vision really here. It makes improvements as well, but it accommodates some of the president's top priorities from the campaign trail, on taxes or on tips on overtime, the Social Security issues, trying to recruit or really entice more manufacturing back in the United States. Some of those provisions do add complexity. There's no doubt of that. So I think it's a blend of simplification and new provisions, but it hits the vision the president made the case for on the campaign trail, and you have to make the case. That's what voters wanted. They want to see these reforms. So I think Ways and Means Committee and the House, it's off to a very strong start.
A lot of the focus is understandably on these individual tax provisions, no tax on tips, these so-called MAGA accounts, which seem like a pretty smart idea.
Yeah.
But the bean counters at the CBO, Tax Foundation, they say that this bill lacks some of those pro-growth business side provisions that the original TCJA had. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you think that they're undercounting the future GDP growth?
I think they may. So first, I think the key thing here is this produced very strong growth, both in the United States. It ended up bringing back from around the world $2.7 trillion of stranded profits back to be invested in the U.S. What we saw is that the average U.S. company that was competing here and around the world now had more jobs back in the United States, more research back in the United States, more investment, more income back in the United States. So we accomplished those pro-growth provisions, keeping those in place, preserving that competitiveness and innovation is job one. And there's no question they achieved that in this bill. On the international provisions that were so key, this whole design to modernize our tax code, preserving that, preventing any tax hikes in that regard, and they're continuing to work to see where they can improve in those areas as it moves to the Senate for their deliberation. I think is all again very pro-growth from that standpoint. So yeah, I think overall this preserves those pro-growth, allows us to compete and win in a world we know where China is super aggressive, where we've got to get better. You can't just stand still. And I think this bill reflects that, and it has the opportunity to do even more going forward.
Chairman, I just want to close out with one more question about those international provisions and specifically how it fits in with President Trump's broader goal of reshoring more American industry. Obviously, as you pointed out, very successful with the initial 2017 TCJA, but now in tandem with this tariff strategy. You know, I've seen some debate over the remittance taxes and whether or not this will dissuade foreign investors from bringing their capital on seas. What do you make of all of this?
You know, I've been reviewing the information. That was, I think, a bit of a surprise that was in the tax bill. I think everyone's studying it to find out what those ramifications are. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, but in the international tax world, everything, you know, you're always looking for those unintended consequences. So I think the jury's still out from that standpoint. But clearly, I think the tax writers wanted to write to the president's vision. And in the international space, certainly they're doing what's right in preserving manufacturing, drawing that back home. Intellectual property and patents are key. They're preserving that in a major way. R&D as well, because the country that wins the future of innovation really wins the economic future, period. And the tax writers, it's clear they not only staked a really great stake in the ground here, but they're looking for improvements as well.
Chairman Brady, thank you so much for your insight and your expertise.
Thank you.